welcome to the Premier Safety Podcast. And this is where we discuss most everything industrial safety. And today we're going to be looking at the evolution of the connected safety program. On today's show, we have our very special guest, Rob Senko with MSA. And Rob, if you'd like, I'd like to take a look at a little bit of your background, if you don't mind, and kind of look at how you got involved in safety and with MSA.
Sure. And thanks so much, Jeff, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. So like you said, I've been with MSA. I'm going into my 18th year with the company this year. I'm kind of homegrown within the safety industry, coming right out of college from the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area.
Right.
I have been in both a field sales role with the company as well. Now I'm in a marketing role for the company. So I spent about 7 years in the field learning applications, working with customers firsthand. Yeah, I spent some time in North Carolina as a construction specialist, working with customers firsthand in that industry. And then I actually relocated to Houston, Texas, and had some firsthand customer experience in the refinery and chemical industries down there.
Oh, fantastic. And so that is great because you have such a great background in this and you bring that expertise with you to the table. And that's what we're looking for today in this. Talking about the industrial safety and the evolution of the connected safety program, one of the first questions I would like to ask was what technology is involved in the connected safety program?
Yeah, when you think about connected safety and how this is really transforming the industrial space, especially the safety space. So really, there's three things that make up a strong connected safety platform, and that would be the hardware, which is the device or something that's in the field in use on a person, the wearable, the connectivity, the ability for that piece of hardware to speak to the cloud, and then the software package or the platform that pulls all that data from the cloud to make it easy to understand, take the insights and take action to make the changes that you need through your standard operating procedures.
Now let's take a look at that a little deeper, if you don't mind. So on the hardware side, are we talking about a particular device that a worker would be wearing?
Yeah, so for our industry right now, the one of the big ones is a gas detector. So people working in confined spaces, what kind of hazardous gases are they exposed to? Is it going into alarm? That would be the piece of hardware that's capturing that data that the person or the worker is wearing. In a similar fashion, it's just like an Apple Watch, right? So it's tracking your heartbeat, it's doing how many calories you're burning, and it's speaking into the cloud in that way too. It goes to an app.
Right. And that takes us, with today's technology, that has really become something that is so beneficial when you're looking at a safety program. And I know we're going to dig into this a little deeper as we go along. But how that hardware has changed over the years with new technology coming online. Before we just had your basic gas detection monitor that would go into alarm. The worker knew, oh, I'm being exposed to a particular, hazardous gas. I need to clear the area. Now it has become even more with the new technology to where, now they get a lot more information from that hardware that they're wearing. And as we're going to step into next with the connectivity, that connectivity that is before it was just that worker knowing and maybe others hearing that alarm go off because they are very loud. But now you've got that connectivity where you can expand that to others. Explain that a little bit if you don't mind.
Yeah, you just nailed it on the head there. It was, before it's just the worker in the confined space. There might be a whole watch there to support that, their communication. If the alarm went off, they would hear it, they would communicate, they'd get out. But really, then they'd have to go report it via, their paper documentation that there was an incident. And that data really took a long time to kind of get to some key decision makers, whether it be the safety manager, the person running the program, to understand what happened. How do they prevent this? Doing the research on what happened with the incident report. And it's just the time that it takes to get that information to make effective change and keep people safe in that regard. So now that we're connected, and these products are being built from the ground up, like our Altair IO4, that's speaking directly to the cloud in real time. And someone can be looking at the grid platform or the software platform and be able to make a decision right then and there, and just make better decisions because they can see what's happening.
Exactly. Now, I know this involves, when you talk about that connectivity, you've got also your internal connectivity, and then you have your external connectivity. Just take a moment, if you don't mind, to kind of explain, like, first of all, the internal connectivity.
Yeah, internally, there's things that the industry and our products have, like Bluetooth connectivity, the Wi-Fi connectivity. That's kind of been standard. It's becoming more standard in a lot of the products that are
Mhm.
electronic in nature.
Yep.
But now we have direct to cloud through the cellular connectivity that's much more different. And again, you don't have to go to some computer and pull out the data from what happened with the Bluetooth. Now it's real time. It goes right to the software. And again, you have that real time visibility available to you at your fingertips.
Yep, exactly. And I know that that does help a lot, especially with that availability and the analytics. Before, when gas detection monitors or any other type of device of that nature, originally it would just simply go into alarm or give you some kind of a warning. Then they started data logging. Data logging became very important because the unit would then record what was happening. And let's say in a gas detection area, you would have a monitor that would then show the different levels of the particular gas it was detecting, or all of them if it was a multi-gas monitor. But you had to take that, and you had to actually take that monitor after the fact and go and connect it up somewhere, download that data, get it off of there, and then put it into a program so you could analyze it. But now it's become with this connectivity that you can get real-time, analysis of that. Explain how that helps.
Yeah, again, you said it real time, right? It's the time that when an incident happens or when something hits that sensor within the gas monitor that it alarms, there's no visibility. There's no real peace of mind for a safety manager to know that that worker that's in that confined space or is on site somewhere or is a lone worker,
Mhm.
they had to find out after the fact. The real time, the cellular connectivity, being able to monitor in real time, they know exactly what's happening. We can now send signals or alerts to those workers where we're seeing that gas to evacuate a certain hazardous area in real time. It's going to keep the workers safe, and it's going to enhance the efficiencies of an operation, a safety program, and help with these antiquated operating procedures that can stall out some safety programs.
Oh, for sure. Uh, Rob, talking about that software, this is something that has become very important over the years. This is the software that will take that data that we get from that monitor and put it into a readable format. Speaking of that format, you want this to be easy. Can you explain a little bit how that software has evolved as well?
Yeah, the software is kind of the ultimate piece to the connected safety platform or program as these safety programs evolve. And again, it's safety managers and industrial hygienists who are most concerned about that user interface and being able to consume that data and take action based on the insights that come from that data to make their program better. The clarity of information is there. I mean, it's going to be accurate. So anything that's being communicated via the wearable or the detector through the cloud to the software, it comes out in a very simple way to understand. So you're not digging into mounds of data
Right.
and going back through it. The software interface and the user experience with the interface makes it very simple and easy and intuitive to, again, take action and manage a safety program or manage assets that are linked into this to the software program itself. And that just makes everything more efficient in terms of responding to things or even being proactive so that things don't happen. The user interface and the simplicity of having anybody being able really to use it with limited training saves time and money.
Yeah, and that is key for sure because you don't wanna have to bring in high level experts to come in and be able to read this data and figure out exactly what happened. Bringing that in so that anybody can walk up and be able to understand what they're seeing here, take that data, and then make a good program to prevent whatever it was from happening again. So that's what's really key in this. Like we were talking about before, is having those old monitors where it just simply went into alarm. you didn't really get a chance to analyze what took place, especially if it was a lone worker situation. So now with all this data, you can actually look and see and make a, you know, proactive solutions to prevent these from happening again to protect workers going down the road. And also there's a storage. When you're seeing this, there's also the storage for this data so that you don't have a loss of this. Talk about that a little bit if you don't mind.
Yeah, again, when old ways of data logging and having it linked to a local site or a computer that's on a hard drive, it's limited to that site. The broader organization doesn't have that visibility to historical records. And then somebody moves on, something happens to the computer where it crashes, the data is lost forever. You can't work with any kind of trend data. So now that it all goes to the cloud, it's stored up there. You never lose that. It's
Right,
always protected. And it's just much easier to manage than dealing with hard drives and disks and things like that. So
right.
again, we're in a kind of a new age here. There's a new generation coming. They have different expectations.
Mhm.
These younger generations are expecting more from the products in terms of how they're coming out, and they want a more fuller solution. They've been raised on the Apple experience, and that's what
Mhm.
we're trying to do from a safety perspective and an industry perspective, is move our industry forward to that type of experience for the customers and making their programs safer.
Yeah, absolutely, and you're exactly right in that. We have become this nation that we can view pretty much anything we want at any time from anywhere, and that's part of the key as well, is that with this technology that you guys have developed in your devices, you can view that from just about anywhere. As long as you have internet connectivity, you can access that cloud data and pull it down so somebody in another country, for example, can analyze that as well. So that's the beauty of it. And you're right, how these things have changed with the devices that we carry, like our cell phones, Bluetoothing with our earbuds or Bluetoothing with our phone, I mean, our watch and things of that nature. It really has. So why not bring this right into the safety products as well? So I'm glad that MSA is on the forefront of making this sort of thing happen. We talked about the real time monitoring and by multiple people. So you can have several people actually monitoring this at the same time, not just one person that's sitting down in front of a computer, but you can have multiple, which is also a key benefit. So, Rob, tell me, as we go further into all of this technology and the software that's coming up, what are some of the key technology gaps that would impede different companies as far as getting into this and being able to implement something like this in their companies?
Yeah, one of the things that we've noticed is it comes back to the IoT platforms that they have, their infrastructure to execute a program like this. Lack of mobile devices that are allowed in the field within the industry.
Hmm.
If it's not intrinsically safe, you really can't have it on a site in a lot of areas.
Right.
Um, having the right apps, insufficient back end apps to be able to, again, use the data that is going to provide the good experience and the ability to take action for safety people. And then inadequate network connectivity. That's just something that, as our national grid expands in scope and we get more towers and things out there, that'll continue to improve. But based
Right.
on some of your locations, they might run into areas where it's hard to get that signal
Mhm.
strong. So
Yeah, that's for sure. Especially when you're talking about some of the gas well sites that are out in the middle of the country someplace, they may not have the Wi-Fi, or they may not have the cell phone signals, or that type of technology out there in that area might be lacking to be able to pick up the signal from all the workers that are wearing the particular devices.
is,
Uh,
even though you might lose connectivity in a fully connected device like we're talking
mhm.
about, it'll still buffer for while it's not connected. But all the data, once it does reclaim that connection, will go funnel up to the cloud, and you will still have what happened, even though there was kind of a period of time where it was kind of buffering there.
Yeah,
So
that's a very good point. So you're not losing that. It will get up there eventually as soon as the signal is reestablished, or can
correct.
be reestablished. One of the things that was pointed out on this was talking about the smart glasses. Is that something that MSA is working with?
That's just in terms of like the connected safety program there, we're looking to evolve to our broader portfolio.
Mhm.
Smart glasses isn't kind of in our wheelhouse right now, but from an industry perspective, there's other companies that are doing that. And when you're a safety manager talking about a fully connected program, you really have to start thinking as, you know, the speed of transformation happens,
Right.
especially with the pandemic and what that's caused the industries to do. How can you really fully integrate, have a fully integrated connected safety program? And there's companies out there doing things with safety glasses. With you know, we're looking at expanding not only to gas detection as a first step, but into our SCBA, our self-contained breathing
Yep.
apparatus, to get onto the grid and connected to the grid. Also with fall protection and just a lot of the PPE offerings out there. So if you're a safety manager looking at how do I evolve my safety program to be the best that it can be and kind of get into this digital space and make it more efficient, there's a lot of areas you can start with.
So, Rob, I'd like to talk a little bit about what are some of the key industries that would be involved in this?
Yeah, there's actually a lot of research study that said by 2039, there's going to be a lot of industries moving towards this. Oil and gas leads the way in that. They're kind of
Mm.
adopting these wearables, this connected digital transformation more quickly than others, followed by chemical, which is kind of hand in hand, oil, gas, and petrochemical.
Mhm.
And then construction and mining are two other industries that are kind of moving into this space as well, kind of leading the way. You know, as the speed of digital transformation accelerates, working in to adapt, and safety programs and companies have to adapt, especially if they're working in these really hazardous situations like oil and gas.
Mhm.
Some of the key drivers for that digital transformation are just their evolving behaviors, and again their preferences,
Mhm.
um, increased competitive pressure.
Oh,
You
for
know,
sure.
companies are out there fighting for projects, and you know they have to have good safety records and show that they, you know, have a really good track record to win bids. So it's really important to show that if you can, you know, monitor your workforce, handle your assets appropriately, you're more efficient, and you're gonna help the bottom line and get the project completed in the time that it needs to be completed.
Right.
um,
That's
Other
very
things, new
key.
regulations and compliance standards are driving it as well. So we're always watching out for that. um, and then, you know, proactive investment to avoid disruption is again with the pandemic. Think about all the disruption that happened in terms of the work and keeping
Oh,
people
yeah.
safe.
Absolutely.
They just Everybody wants to be proactive. They don't want to react, and especially in safety. So
Yep.
those safety or safety conscious companies, which tend to be in oil and gas and those bigger Exxons, they have really good programs, things like that.
Mhm.
They're going to adopt this and kind of lead the way in terms of a digital transformation.
Right. You know, and that was something I was thinking of as you were explaining this is that quite often, you know, especially in some industries, you have some of the workers that don't want to wear something or they don't want to, they think, oh, this is too cumbersome. I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to have to deal with this. That's kind of what's changing in this technology is that things are becoming very much smaller. They're
Mhm.
less encumbering on the worker themselves. And so it doesn't become such a big deal. And if they think about this in the safety aspect, this device not only is it's meant to be here to save my life or save me from serious injury and also my fellow workers from that. So many times we in the past we've talked about times where they would misuse a particular piece of equipment because they're not really as sure how to use it. So making these devices so simple that they can just basically turn it on. Gas monitors need to be bumped or calibrated, but once that's done, they can just turn it on and go. They don't have to do anything special with it. And again, like I said about being less encumbering on them as they're doing their job, this is key. And as technology goes forward, the things like these glasses, which really fascinates me, by the way, to have something that you could get real time data just by looking at it in your glasses, that's fantastic. But we're evolving to this area, and knowing that MSA is involved in their R&D, looking towards that for the future is
And
fantastic
then future
because
proof in the safety program and allowing it to evolve,
Mhm.
instead of kind of like a one time. implementation of a solution for a certain application. That's where we're kind of heading from our portfolio perspective. Again, we're starting with gas detection, moving to FBA, so that when all of this information for the solutions that we have, as well as services, you mentioned bump and calibration gas,
Mhm.
understanding the usage of how often or a particular location or a particular company is going through calibration. Are they following those best practices?
Right.
Provide services to be able to, um, you know, automatically refill calibration gas down the road is where we're kind of
Mhm.
heading, so that they don't have to think about it. It just comes in. Again, it's kind of like groceries for Amazon Prime. Like when you have it on um, quick order there,
Mhm.
once the milk goes out. That's kind of what we want to do. Make it convenient to run a safety program and give really peace of mind in terms of the overall portfolio, really driving towards behavior-based safety. That's the goal that everybody wants. That's a core value for a lot of companies out there, is safety, and really driving accountability with their workers, putting in the right standard operating procedures, and learning from these connected wearable products now on
Mhm.
how their crews or how their people or employees are working or using gas detectors, can really give them predictive analytics on where they need to focus their efforts.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what's is so interesting also, and, the benefit to MSA Safety is that you guys are involved in so many different aspects of safety, not just gas detection, but you have your fall protection, you have your, you're working with your hard hats and PPE. You also have your SCBA line for supplied air, breathing air. So, being able to have the technology that you're developing for the future for this conduct connectivity across all of those is just, something that is so beneficial to the industry out there for all these companies that are involved. Not everybody, has all of this, but quite a few companies do. You have a guy who's wearing a supplied air respirator or an SCBA. He may be going down with, into a confined space using the fall protection. So combining this technology together, covering a broad spectrum of safety is key, and I think that's an advantage that MSA has in this.
Yeah, and we're looking at it from the connected worker. So
Mhm.
again, wearables, what products can people wear that we can glean data from, and get that up into the cloud and into the grid to show that. But then also infrastructure. So we also deal with fixed gas and flame detection. So gas
Mhm.
detectors that are put into the facility to monitor certain areas of the
Right.
facility. And that's kind of the next evolution too for that part of our business, is to connect not only the worker but the actual work site, and then understand those workflows that kind of join everything. So if you're a safety person or you're running a program or you're running a facility, you can have all that data to again make decisions, improve your processes, and be safe all at the same time.
So, Rob, tell me, with all this new technology, where does a company get started with all this? Looking at this, I mean, it can be overwhelming. Explain a little bit how a company can get started with these solutions.
Yeah, it can be overwhelming, but really it's all about just looking at where you have a current pain point in your safety program, especially around data, and kind of take an initial step there. We've kind of focused on gas detection because that's where customer base within our industries really struggle with data management and asset management. So that seemed to be the natural step.
Mhm.
I would say, if you're looking at your program still using paper processes, how can I get from the paper to more of a digital data allocation? That would be kind of a step one. Um, that's probably the easiest one, and focus on a particular area like gas detection, to start small, get a quick win, and then kind of build and evolve it from there, as that those behaviors and those processes get
Like
implemented.
this, and now we've got the connectivity and the software. Oftentimes now, many companies have an IT program where they need to get permissions and have IT involved. Do you help work with all of that as well?
Yeah, we have a whole team of software engineers, and our whole sales team who can help implement and support in terms of training on how to do this. From an IT perspective, we do have ISO certification on our grid software platform. That is a big concern when you talk to
Absolutely.
companies. They always run into a kind of an internal challenge with their IT department worrying about the data.
Right.
And we're really proud that we worked for a strong year and a half to get that ISO certification that relates to the data. So we're proud to have that and make sure we can put all the IT departments at ease for implementing this solution.
Mhm. So, Rob, taking a look at your experience and your tenure with MSA Safety, what are some of the kind of the technology that you find most interesting?
Yeah, one of the coolest features that I think with a connected device, in this case the Altair IO4 that we've been talking about here,
Hmm.
is the over-the-air update capabilities for it. Um, with the software, it's built into that product.
Hmm.
If we have to make an update, as software gets better and more efficient, and we can add features to it, we can push those updates to the monitors that are out in the field,
Oh
and the
wow!
customer doesn't have to wait for that. They don't have to
Oh wow!
plug it in and update it like you do for your laptop. It just kind of goes. You go into the grid, you go into the unit, and the unit's operating a little bit differently in terms of function, but the grid has more features and benefits, and they don't have to do anything as the consumer or user of the product. So I
Wow!
think that's probably one of the most exciting things for me. It's just going to continue to get better and better and better as you invest in a product like this, a connected product.
Oh, for sure. And I know that, you're right. A lot of times when there's a product update, you may not even know about it. And I know that you guys send out information. I get emails all the time at work from MSA saying, "Hey, we've got something new." And people really need to read those emails because they are very, very important because it's talking about or maybe talking about technology that you currently have that now something new is coming out for an add-on to that or something to that nature, but also looking at the fact that if there was an update, most of the time, if you didn't know about it, when you dock the monitor into a Galaxy docking station,
Mhm.
then that's when you would think, okay, I dock it, and now I've got to get these updates done. So being able to push those updates out because they are connected all the time, you were able to push that technology and do an update right then and there. That's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's really cool, Jeff. And you actually another cool feature that I just thought of that you said when docking the unit into the station, we
Hmm.
have our new IO dock that goes,
Oh wow.
it's the calibration stand for
Hmm.
the IO4. And one of the other things is assignment of devices in terms of managing your crews and your assets.
Hmm.
One of the cool features that we have on the Altair IO4 with the new IO dock is we have an ID tag that comes with every single unit.
Hmm.
So you issue the ID tag to the worker who's going to be using that instrument. All they do is tap it to the instrument. It's now assigned to John Smith for the day. When
Hmm.
when John Smith comes back from his work day, puts it back into the tool crib, they dock it into the system for charging. It automatically deassigns that person, so that you don't have to go in and do any kind of manual programming through the laptop or anything like that. The ID tags and the quickness of assignment and deassignment is one of the other coolest features in terms of managing the assets, managing a safety program, managing a fleet of instruments.
Yeah, absolutely. Because quite often, especially during shutdowns, but also just in regular plants, you find that they run 24/7. So you have different shifts coming in, and they're going to use that same, rather than having a gas detection monitor or having another piece of safety equipment assigned to every single worker, you can have the set you need for the different shifts that are working. So you're right, being able to reassign that to the next guy coming on for the next shift, that's key because you want to make that as easy as possible, as quick as possible, so these guys can get out and get back to work. That's
I
fantastic.
say the beauty of the ID tags is now you can trace who's doing what, how they're doing it, and look for areas of improvement. Not to big brother them or yell at the worker if they're not following procedure or doing whatever. It's about that improved training, understanding gap areas, and just continuous improvement of, again, putting the accountability on the worker as a connected worker to
Yes.
understand what their habits are, what their behaviors are. Are they using the product right?
Yep.
This is now all visible to somebody at the individual level to again enhance their training processes and understand more toward a based approach and accountability for the workers in their program.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and sometimes, workers will look like at this as going, "Oh, they're keeping an eye on me wherever I'm going." No, it's more about that safety program, and that's something that an educational program within each company is so key to let those workers know that it's not about that, it's about the safety. One thing too I'd like to kind of elaborate on, and again, talking about the new technology we have out here, like this podcast, for instance. Being out on, YouTube or one of the other platforms where this information can be spread to millions and millions of people is key. And I know, and I do this quite often when I'm working. I'm in rental, and as I talk to folks, they say, "Well, how do I go? Is there somebody that's going to train me on how to use this?" Most often, I tell people, go out to YouTube or one of the other platforms that are out there, social media platforms, and just simply type in, "How do I use the Altair IO unit?" And there's going to be a video, probably from MSA out there, or several that are walking you through exactly how to use this. That is fantastic. And I know I've seen some of your videos out on YouTube. They're very, very professional and very well done, very informative. And are you're continuing obviously with that, I assume?
Yeah, we'll be doing that again. You have to have training for everybody.
Mm,
Want to make sure the use of it. We try to keep it short, minute and a half,
you
very
have to, yeah.
simple. And then again, since we designed this up with the software in mind, so we designed the hardware, the unit with the software in mind, end to end, the intuitive nature of the design makes it extremely simple for the user experience. So the videos will be short, the buttons and everything you have to push, the calibration, everything just kind of speaks to itself,
Mhm.
and try to automates a lot of the process as well. That's what we're trying to do, and that's where we're evolving to. But we will have videos for sure.
All right. Thanks, Rob, so much. And that about wraps it up for today on the Connected Safety Program. And this is something that is very, very important going forward. And I really appreciate your time and your expertise from MSA Safety coming out here and explaining all this to us.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jeff. I had a great time, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this thing moves forward and how the industry transforms and how we can help our customers do it.
Exactly. And I will ask that as you guys go forward with the new technology, come on back to the show. Let's do this again. Let's talk about what you have coming up in the future so that we can get this out to everyone. Because again, safety is so, so very important on the job site. We all know that. You and I both experienced these kind of things that happen out there or what potentially can happen. And for those of you watching, if you have any questions, we will have links below in the description of MSA Safety and also Premier Safety. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. I'll have the phone numbers out there. Give us a call and we'll help you understand anything we talked about today or things that are coming up in the future. Thanks again, Rob. Appreciate your coming on.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it.